In this video, I'll start to deconstruct the Apple commercial, sketching out the commercial as a storyboard. Here's the beginning of the commercial. We see a tube and another tube down here. We see levels of some underground silo and a number. This is a wide shot. The wide shot at the beginning of a story sets the tone for the location of the story is going to be told. I'm in Photoshop with the storyboard, and in the layers panel, I can create a new layer, get a brush. You can use any color that you want that has a contrast against that white background. I like to use a purplish color, and I'm drawing on this new layer. So if I mess up, I can always turn it off or make a new layer. So in our first panel, we have that tube. We have a wall here with a number. We had another tube underneath this one. And then we had levels inside of this silo. That's our first scene. Here's the next scene in the commercial. We have a person here, and then we have other people behind that person. They're walking single file down this path inside of that tube that we saw in the previous scene. And there are TVs mounted onto the wall. This one's going to be a harder sketch to create, but if I put the person here, then I draw another person back here and another person behind that person. And notice that the people are getting smaller because they're going into the distance. I'll draw another person back here. I'll draw the path that they're walking on and the TV sets that are mounted onto the wall. Let's draw in the tube that they're walking through, maybe a couple of lines like this to show that there is some perspective and that this is a tube that they're walking through. Let's put another person over here where we can barely see their head and barely see their body. I'll give the TVs just a little bit more detail to make it look like it's coming off of the wall. In the next scene, we see a full person's face. They're not looking at the camera. They're looking off into the distance in front of them. We have a silhouette of another person in front of them. Their head is bigger because they're closer to us. This head behind this other person is smaller because it's further away from the lens. We have that perspective again. It's coming this way. In our next panel, I can draw the profile of the person all the way to the right. That's in silhouette. I can draw the head of the person. You don't need to be very detailed. And then you draw the head of the next person behind that person. Put a neck in. We'll put a neck and the top of their shoulder. So the first thing I want to do is draw each scene. We're deconstructing the commercial as a storyboard. When we're all done, we'll talk about the camera angles. Here's the next scene. We're looking up at the people walking by. This is a worm's eye view from the floor. It's hard to see the floor, but we can see a lot of the ceiling. You have the people over here, the ceiling is up here, and we can still see those TVs. I'm just going to draw in the tops of the people here and their body. This is easier for me to do it this way, to draw a big shape before I draw in the bodies. So we can have a head here, a head here, a head here, a head here, neck, shoulder, hand, leg. Same thing here, but notice how they're getting smaller going into the distance. I'll make it bigger here. This is the person's hand. Notice giving more detail to the bodies that are close to the lens, less detail to the bodies that are further away from the lens. We'll draw in the ceiling and put the TVs in. We'll draw the end of the tube and we'll put in the path that they're walking on. In this next scene, we're seeing a foot up close. Here's another foot, and here's the path that they're walking on. So we have a shape of a foot. Here's their cuff from their pants, and then we can draw another one over here and another one over here. We'll put another one here, and we'll put another one here like this, another one here like this. Might even put this foot in on this side over here, and then that path over here. Now to make it look more realistic, we might even quickly draw in a crosshatch to make it look like the grid that they're walking on. So it looks like there's a little more detail and we tell the story a little bit better. So the person looking at these storyboards understands what's happening visually. In the next scene, we finally see where the people are walking to. Here's a large room with a screen in the front with a person's face who has on some sunglasses, or maybe their eyeglasses. We have what looks like a path right here, and lots of people here viewing what's on the screen. The end of the room is here on both sides. The people stop here, and they go down the line of the wall here and over here. This panel is going to be a lot to draw in a small area. Let's start with the screen and the person's face. Let's put the shades on that person's face, their nose, and they had their mouth open. Let's put on some ears. Let's put that wall on the left and the right. Let's make that path down the middle. Let's put people in here by just making a bunch of M's, and we'll make those M's bigger the closer they get to the lens. And this is a way to show visually a lot of people in a room where the people in the front are smaller than the people in the back. Now let's look at each one of these panels and talk about the camera shots and the camera angles. So this is a wide angled shot. Talked about this at the beginning of the video, where this tells the location of where these people are. This is also a wide shot because we're seeing the whole body of a person and we're getting a sense of where that location is. This one is a close-up. We're getting a close-up of the face. We're seeing that person's emotion. We're understanding the story more when we see the vacant look on this person. We see this shot. This is a wide shot again. It's a lot like this shot. So both of these shots were shot at the same level, probably around the mid-thigh area. We're seeing the people here progress. They're walking past the lens now. They were in front of the lens here, and now they're past the lens here. This tells us that they're walking somewhere. And then we see the feet, what they're wearing, what they're walking on. These details help us tell the story. This is a close-up. This is a wide shot. Now we see where they've been walking to. The wide shot is great for showing the location of where the story is being told. Storyboards are really important to create for a few different reasons. Number one, it's a shot list for whoever is filming the story. They want to look to this storyboard to understand what the next shot is they need to film. Another reason to make the storyboard is to understand where the story needs to be filmed. Will you be able to acquire the shots that you're drawing in the story? This is where you can ask yourself these questions, and if you can't answer that question, you may want to rethink the story and where it's being told.